Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of March 14th, 2017 to order, and we'll begin with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to give everybody a reminder now so I don't forget that if you approach the podium, there's a clipboard up there. We'd appreciate your name and address. You can do that when you're done speaking, just so that we have it for the minutes. Okay, first on the agenda, I'll call for public comment on any agenda items other than those dealing with development or rezoning applications. Okay, we have minutes from February 28th. If there are no additions or corrections to those, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move to approve the minutes for the February 28th meeting.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And next, on the agenda, well,
We've got bills.
we have bills. I'm sorry, one more thing. We do have bills for the week, actually for 2 weeks. I'll entertain a motion regarding the bills if there are no additions or corrections to those.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve those bills.
And I will second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have with us today Sister Mary Miller from the Emmaus Soup Kitchen, and we also have Jessica James Stutzman, who would like to, and Judy, okay, Judy Zelina also, who would like to make a presentation regarding the recent Christmas tree recycling activities that we had out at our recycling center on January 14th. This is, how many years have we been doing this, Judy?
Too many. Yeah, over 20 years.
Yeah.
Because it started in the parking lot with dumpsters
Oh, okay.
years ago.
All right. Well, if you'd like to come up and make the presentation,
Okay, I'd like to say a few words first.
please.
Make sure you sign in.
Yeah.
Never. We know who you are.
See, oh, yes, that we always go through this every time I get up here. First off, on behalf of Millcreek Township and the Fairview Township Supervisors, we'd like to thank all of the Erie County residents that participated in our annual Christmas tree cycling event that was held out at the Mill Fair Compost Center on January 14th. And it was not as cold as some of the years that we've had. We have had some sub-zero temperatures. First off, we had a great turnout of volunteers and also residents dropping off their trees. But we want to give a special thank you to our volunteers. Jessica James Stutzman, she is our Millcreek Township Recycling Coordinator. I was there. Mark Dietz, Steve Cornelius, Ken Fromnick, Sean Stutzman, that's Jesse's husband, who has absolutely no choice, and he's there. We have Carl Kronmiller, and he brought his son, who was such a little energizer guy. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to hire him. When that a few more years, he's going to be working for out at Mill Fair. Rhonda Martin, and of course, Sister Mary Miller. These volunteers, we unloaded 214 trees from the residents' vehicles, which is kind of ironic. It's the exact same number that we collected the year before. All residents and businesses were asked to make a donation to the Emmaus Soup Kitchen, and we are here today to present Sister Mary Miller with those proceeds in the amount of $1,189 and various canned goods. So, Sister, we appreciate your dedication to our community through the Emmaus Soup Kitchen and all that it offers to all of us. Thank you.
Photo op.
Yep.
I think this is what you call big money.
Yes.
Big money.
Big money.
On behalf of the supervisors, we present you this check. And it has been a long time. I think I had dark hair. Judy and Jessica were wonderful. Yeah, I only stayed for a few minutes, but they're very gracious to the people who come. And Mother Earth who gets saved, and for the folks at the Super Community. And it's good to see a woman on this one.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, sir.
Judy, you don't have to do that.
I don't want you to misspell my name.
And now we have a presentation from Jessica in regard to our Tree Vitalize grant, and I think some other good news, right, Jess?
As they mentioned, I'm Jessica Stutzman, the recycling coordinator for Millcreek Township. We are proud to announce that the Millcreek Township Recycling Department and Parks and Rec Department, we partnered together. We were one of 18 projects awarded the DCNR Tree Vitalize grant for the 2017 planting round. Millcreek Township was awarded $7,630 to pay for the installation of 50 trees at the following locations: McDowell High School on West 38th Street and in the parking lot, Asbury Park near the barn and the ball field, the MYAA David Long Sports Complex, which is at Walnut Creek, the Erie County Conservation District, Richmond Park, Peninsula Drive Boulevards, and Chadwick Median. If you are interested, if you or a group are interested in volunteering with us to help plant, just give the recycling department or the Parks and Recreation Department a call.
Jessica, do you expect to see those planted in the spring, or will that wait till the fall?
McDowell, the school district, plans to plant in the spring, and we plan to plant the rest in the fall.
Okay.
Also, the 49th annual PSATS communication contest was awarded again. Millcreek Township earned 2 awards from PSATS, and the annual contest recognizes townships that have successfully communicated programs and activities to its citizens. Millcreek Township took 3rd place for its 2016 calendar, Life on the Lake, and which was in the Others publication category, and we won 2nd place for the Millcreek Government Channel, Presque Isle, Winter 2015, in the Cable TV Channel and Program category. For Judy Zelina was the host, and these are our 2 awards.
Very nice.
2nd and 3rd place.
Who we got it for next year?
Who are we gonna, or we've stalked them. We've done our homework. We know who we have to surpass.
All right.
So, and then I just have one last announcement based on our 904 performance grant for the calendar year 2015. The Section 904 recycling performance grants are available to all Pennsylvania local governments with recycling programs. The grant awards are based on the total tons recycled and the applicant's recycling rate. In 2015, Millcreek Township residents and businesses recycled 10,655 tons worth of eligible materials. Eligible grant materials include only the following items: glass bottles and jars, steel and aluminum cans, plastic bottles, newspapers and magazines, paper, and corrugated cardboard. As a result, the Millcreek Township Recycling Department was awarded $119,623 to put back into programming, education, and events that benefit our Millcreek Township residents and businesses. We greatly appreciate all of our residents and commercial businesses for their excellent recycling efforts. This funding would not have been awarded without the public's dedication to the environment.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Great job, you and Jess.
I know, I think we know you. Okay, excuse me. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing of a petition of a change in zoning classification. The first is for, excuse me, Dean and Anjani Ramdani, thank you, Ramdani,
Did I pronounce that right? Ramdani? Yes. Yes.
for property located at 3229 West 38th Street, now zoned R1 Single Family Residential District, asking for a change of classification to R2 Low Density Residential District. Julie?
The Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval. Erie County Planning Department said that it was generally consistent with the Erie County Comp Plan, and the Millcreek Township Future Land Use Plan shows commercial.
Okay.
Okay. Someone to speak on behalf of the petition for rezoning.
I have not much to say. I just want to know if I could get it rezoned from single to R2.
Okay, Julie, excuse me. You said the comp plan calls for commercial,
Correct.
and there's some significant multifamily in that area?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Other than that property, it's, that one on that side of the street is about the only one still zoned R1,
Correct.
correct?
Just to the west of it is zoned R2. That was
Okay.
rezoned in 2001, and to the east of it is R4.
Julie, what does the zoning department recommend?
It would be consistent to rezone to C2. Right next door is also C2, and then to the east is R4.
You said C2, you mean R2?
No, it's C2.
R2.
Oh, they're asking for R2.
They're asking for R2.
So
Excuse me.
you're recommending approval of rezoning?
Yes.
Okay. Mark, do we have to address this then? I know it's going to come up in the next one, regarding our comp plan, if the comp plan says commercial?
I think if the county has indicated it's generally consistent with the comp plan, I think you're covered from that perspective.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board?
That, just refresh my memory, Julie. Of course, the R2 would allow for a two-family. Does it also allow for three there if it has a certain lot size?
It allows for a 2-family or a 1-family.
Okay, that's all. Okay, it doesn't
Correct.
allow for a three if it has a larger
Yes.
lot. Okay, that's all I had there. Thanks.
All right, anyone else to speak either on behalf of or in opposition to the request for rezoning? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, generally, I do think we should stick to our comp plan, but in this situation, we look at the existing uses surrounding the property. That corridor has developed really with multifamily uses, so I would move to approve the rezoning to R2.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
I'll vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Westminster Place Partnership. This is for property located at 2608 Zimmerly Road, now zoned RR Rural Residential District, consisting of approximately 11.4 acres, asking for a change in classification to C2 General Commercial District. Julie?
The Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval. Erie County Planning said that it was generally consistent with the Erie County Comprehensive Plan, and our future land use map shows multifamily.
Okay, someone to speak on behalf of the petition?
Yeah, Mike Redlosk from Westminster Place Partnership, 2601 West 26th Street here in Millcreek. I brought with me packets that we gave to the Planning Commission. If it would be helpful, I can distribute those to you folks. Is
Sure.
that all right?
Yes. I'll pass them. We have enough.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. You got it
Yep.
there, and we'll give one to Mark if he wants one there.
All right.
And we
Leave
can
one
do that
this way.
too. Okay. Oh,
Go ahead, Mike.
that's
These
fine.
are,
We're fine.
these packets are consistent with
you go.
what we gave the Planning Commission with one change, I think on the last page, and I'll quickly try to go through this. Westminster Place Partnership has a contract to purchase 2608 Simley Road from the Jack Burgess Trust. The contract is contingent on a favorable ruling that the property becomes C2. We attended the Planning Commission meeting, as you know, on February 7th, and we believe that this request is consistent with the neighborhood and consistent with the interest of Millcreek Township. The first exhibit that I provide to you is just the zoning map enlarged. You can see C2 to the east, C3 also to the east. You can see C1 to the south, and you can and then as it works its way down, you sort of see the general progression of zoning in that general neighborhood. The second sheet just kind of shows how the area is developing. When we move from the second page to the third is an aerial depiction of this area, which I think is more helpful in this case. What we're trying to depict here is on the east side of the property, there is a big area, a large wetland area, and a large ravine. And what that does is it creates a natural barrier going east, or going west. I'm sorry. So it sort of connects the property much more consistently with the properties to the east, which are both C2 and are currently owned by the Savings and Erie Federal Credit Bureau. As this property currently is zoned rural residential, and that also creates a buffer issue to the property to the east. They need a 40-foot buffer to develop that piece that they have, and we can help them solve that problem with this rezoning. So you'll see in the packet a letter from Brian Wagaman from the Erie Federal Credit Union, and describing their support. And we're working with them also for access to the light that's on Zook Road, so that we would be working together on that, and we would be hoping to move their wetlands into our lot that's depicted to the north, which essentially would sort of continue that buffer area that sort of protects all the neighbors that are in the R4 next door. If you flip over to what is the fourth exhibit, that sort of depicts it in a little closer shot. You can see that the property being 11.5 acres is really only about 6 usable when you look at that area that's really can't be built. There's a big ravine, and then that wetland area, and so that's the area that we're talking about that creates that natural buffer and makes, kind of helps this make sense in terms of it being connected to those to the sort of the east properties. Along with the last, well, I have 2 more, I guess. Well, I do have a copy of the letter from the Planning Commission, and that's always been referenced. I do take note, and just as a reminder, this property was, they were here before. The current owners tried to sell it before, and the applicants came in to make it R4. That was turned down in 2013. And so this is more consistent, I think, with what your comprehensive plan really means, and how this probably works better with the neighbors in the neighborhood. Finally, we have, maybe I didn't provide the last page. I don't know if I did. I did. Okay. So the new page that we added is the Planning Commission had recommended approval of the full zoning. And what we thought we would do is, because we can't use the property that's in the wetlands, we're going to propose to offer that property for as a conservation easement. And in the drawing that you have, you can see it outlined. That was our engineer outlining the wetlands specifically. But we would envision that the conservation easement will be a little bigger than that. It will encompass the corner piece, the parts that are to the west of that wetland, and a little bit more east. But since we didn't have an actual measurement and a defined line, we can't use all that cliff area, and so it'll be expanded a little bit to the east. But essentially, we end up with a 6-acre plus or minus development parcel with a conservation district buffering it to the west, and the property to the north, which is another 1.5 acres or so, would be reserved for wetlands, and that's sort of how that lays out.
So what you have crosshatched on that page, excuse me, number 7, it's actually the delineated wetlands?
Yes, that's correct. And so we would, the conservation easement, because we didn't have that defined and, you know, specifically that general area, but it will be a little bigger than that. And certainly, we wouldn't have any use of the property that's beyond that into the upper corner there or the real cliff side. So it'll be a little larger than it's shown.
Okay. Any questions just yet? Mr. Ridloff?
Nothing right
You want to
now.
stand by? There may be some more questions.
Sure.
Anyone else here who would like to speak either on behalf of or in opposition to this requested rezoning? We'll hear you now. Excuse me. Been battling a cold here, trying to get through it.
Julia, same question. What's the zoning department's recommendation on this? Well, what's the recommendation from the zoning department?
We would recommend approval.
In 2013, when this property was before us, requesting a rezoning to multifamily, R4, right?
Correct.
There was a great deal of discussion by the board in regard to access to Zimmerly Road. There was no proposed access to Zook Road, which is what you're talking about now. And at that time, we were only vaguely believing that there was going to be some improvements being done to Zimmerly Road and the property closer to the mall, the bridges over Walnut Creek and over I-79. So traffic in that area was a significant concern. It still is, but now we are very intimately involved with that project being pursued by PennDOT, and the fact that the traffic issues on Zimmerly Road should be improved dramatically by the improvements being done to Zimmerly. So that, I think, eases some of those concerns regarding future development, whether it would have been for R4 or for commercial that you're proposing. You mentioned access would be available to Zook Road, New Zook Road, through the C2 to your east, an agreement. We can't put that condition on a rezoning. But I think that it's the board's feeling, and please chime in here, fellas, that if this rezoning were to be granted, that when it comes time for land development on that property, we're going to want the primary access to be to Zook Road. Having additional commercial traffic out onto Zimmerly only makes a bad problem worse, but having it over on Zook Road where you have access to traffic signals, it could be much improved. That's going to be a PennDOT call. Those are both PennDOT roads, both Zimmerly and Zook, but we do have significant input that we're able to provide to PennDOT.
Yeah. Mike, you had indicated that you were working with a credit union.
Yes.
You were working with a credit union about access through their traffic light there.
That's
Did I understand that correctly? Of course, that's for your long-range plan there when you get to develop that, so.
And you know, it has to do with us also being able to trade them to put give them a place to put their wetlands so they can develop their.
Sure.
So we have a
Understand.
mutual interest there. I think.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay. Now, just one point for clarification. I think I understood you to say that your purchase of this property is contingent only on the successful rezoning of the property. That's the only contingency
It's
on?
the only contingency left.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that
Yeah.
correctly, and it's on the record too, so, thank you.
Yeah, I think if you agree, we have to buy it.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if he's.
Okay.
Now, and I'll refer to Attorney Shaw here. Mark, we can't put any kind of conditions on the rezoning, obviously, but the offer was made regarding the conservation easement. Is it proper to at least let the record show, the minutes show that that offer was made to the supervisors, and the supervisors, I think that the board would welcome an offer like that? It does provide for that buffer between the multifamily to the west and the commercial.
The general rule is that with respect to zoning decisions, they can't be made conditional. There is some movement afoot in other states, depending upon how things are phrased, to allow what's called conditional as opposed to contractual. I'm not sure we need to head down that path here, and I'm not sure we want to be groundbreaking from that perspective. But certainly, their willingness in indicating that they would provide that access and to provide the conservation easement at the time of development certainly can be accepted by the supervisors, and so then when the time comes, we could impose on them or require them to provide that information or those requirements.
In the land development phase? Okay.
Yes.
Any other comments?
Well, the only comment I have is, again, referring back to future land use plan, which does recommend high-density residential in the area. Again, seeing as how the area actually developed and looking at the actual terrain restrictions of the property, this seems like really a common sense compromise to the comp plan. Considering you've got the ravine there, which does act as a natural buffer. Of course, ravines can, you can fill in wetlands, you can develop those things if you want to. If you have enough money, you can pretty much develop any piece of real estate.
We don't have enough money.
Which is, but what I'm getting to is, I think
In theory.
I think the conservation easement protects against that.
Sure.
And, the reality is it's hard to zone based on topography. So I do think this is it's a common sense compromise to the intent of the comp plan. I think it does protect the residential district to the east. I understand that it's just a promise and a handshake at this point for the conservation easement. We hope you keep your word on that.
Mike's a good guy, he'll do that.
Okay, if there are no other comments from the public, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Gentlemen, I just want to add, this request did trigger some discussion in our engineering and zoning department regarding conservation easements in general and overlay districts, to perhaps give the municipality a little more oversight and more of an official capacity to enforce these kind of compromises. So I just want to let you know, the zoning engineering is doing some research on what kind of zoning amendments we might be able to enact to give us a little more protections and to ensure these kinds of compromises can be upheld. Also, regarding the access, we have had discussions since last year with Rick Morris about developing an access management plan to give us a little more local authority over the PennDOT HOP process. So those are some avenues we can look at so that these kinds of issues, we do have a little more, we've got a very nice developer who's promising very good things, but we could also maybe look at our policies and ordinances to give us a little more control of those kinds of issues, and a little more flexibility as well when it comes to these kinds of rezonings and development plans.
Okay. Next, we have the announcement of bids and quotations received. The first is for waste and recycling collection bid opening. This is for recycling and garbage collection, and I'm going to refer to Attorney Shaw regarding this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March 8th of 2017, the township received two timely bids, one submitted by Waste Management of Pennsylvania and the other submitted by Advanced Disposal Services of Western Pennsylvania. The bid package was looking for a bid on both unlimited collection services, which most of our residents partake, as well as a pickup bag service that some residents select, as well as some miscellaneous other types of categories. Under our ordinance, we evaluate the price of the bid based solely on the unlimited collection price. The bids received from Advanced Disposal, we've also asked for a 3-year and a 5-year term. The 3-year term from Advanced Disposal was $53.76. The 5-year term was $55.05. The Waste Management bid was the same for both years, 3- and 5-year terms, at $69.83. In addition, Advanced Disposal submitted an alternate bid for the unlimited collection, which they would, in addition to meeting the same requirements in the spec, would also provide to the residents a 95-gallon wheeled cart for trash and a 65-gallon wheeled cart for recycling as part of the fixed quarterly fee. The amount under that alternate for a 3-year contract was proposed at $58.38, and for the 5-year it was $59.76. Under the Pennsylvania law, the township is required to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder. As part of this process, the lowest responsible bidder under the terms of the code provides that the Board of Supervisors is to consider whether each bidder is financially responsible, as well as whether the bidder is capable of performing all of the duties and obligations under the proposed contract. Obviously, the township is well aware of Waste Management and its capabilities, since Waste Management has served the township for a number of years. With respect to Advanced Disposal, the township conducted an investigation with respect to Advanced Disposal. We reviewed both the information that the company provided to us, as well as did additional research into the company's information, including looking into the filings that it makes with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Based on this research, we've concluded that the Advanced Disposal is a very large waste company with operations in 16 states, including and throughout Pennsylvania, and includes the ownership of a number of landfills. The company has approximately $3.3 billion in assets, with about 5,400 employees, and serves more than 2.7 million customers in those states. From our perspective, it's clear that Advanced Disposal was a large, experienced waste hauling and disposal company with the capability of serving Millcreek Township in accordance with the bid package that the township issued for the waste hauling and disposal services. In addition, we reached out to some current customers of Advanced Disposal to see if they were satisfied with the service. Both entities that we contacted who have been served by Advanced Disposal for a couple of years indicated that they were happy with their services and that they were overall satisfied with the performance of Advanced Disposal. So based on that, it would be my conclusion that Advanced Disposal qualifies, given the bid submitted and given the investigation that we conducted, that they would qualify as the lowest responsible bidder.
Mark, do we have an estimate as to the value of whether it's a 3-year or 5-year contract? Any ballpark number?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
What would be the amount that might be collected over a 3-year or 5-year? You can do the math in a hurry, can't you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
Okay. Throwing you a curveball, you weren't ready for that one. The only reason I ask is because this is a big deal. This is we're talking about a lot of money here. Whether it's Waste Management or Advanced Disposal, the residents of Millcreek who are required to have trash hauling are spending $240, $250 a year on their hauling, and that's what, 13,000 homes?
Yeah, I think there's 16,500 homes.
Okay.
So it's a $12, $13, $14 million plus contract.
Okay. Yeah, like I say, this is a big deal. So we had to do our homework. Waste Management has been our trash hauler for a long time. They weren't off and on years ago when I first started, 27 years ago, but they've been here for many years. Done a tremendous job, I believe, and I think that Judy and Jessica can agree with that. Whenever we've had an issue regarding trash, Judy or Jessica picks up the phone, and Waste Management is right there. There's a mattress on Schultz Road. Boom, they pick it up. I shouldn't probably be telling folks that, but any kind of an issue with somebody got skipped, Waste Management has been very gracious to go back and pick it up. Maybe somebody was a few minutes late that day and they forgot to get their trash out in time. Somebody goes back and picks it up. Again, I probably shouldn't be telling folks that, but they've been very, very good to work with. So this made this decision even more difficult. The money is obviously extremely important, the differences in the quarterly billing, but service is vitally important also. So we want to make sure that whoever received this contract was going to be able to do the job. And as Mark stated, we have no reason to believe that Advanced Disposal Services would be unable to perform their duties. So, like I said, this has been a tough decision because Waste Management has been a very good friend of the township. They've worked very well with us, and we would have loved to have seen them be able to stay, but Advanced submitted a very, very competitive price quote for the services. Comments from the board?
Yeah, to reiterate what Brian just mentioned there, I think that, and I mean this in all sincerity, Waste Management has set the bar very high in standards for what the township has come to expect. The Board of Supervisors, the amount of calls that we might get are very minimal, and they're usually handled rather expeditiously. And all we got to do is make a phone call. Call Judy or Jessica, and next thing you know, they're calling Eldon. Problem's taken care of within a couple hours. That is the service that we have become very accustomed to. And I would certainly throw that same expectation on whoever is awarded this contract today. Yeah, it's that good. I wish all of our contractors operated this very same way. Sadly, we don't get all the contractors that way when other jobs that we're doing around here, you know, but hey, that's the way it goes. Sorry to say that. But it's a very tough decision to make.
Yes.
Very tough decision. It's, you know, it's weighed on me quite heavily here. People are being affected by this. And I know that at my house, my garbage is picked up on Friday morning down on Montpelier Avenue. It's picked up around 6:30 in the morning. I can set my watch to it. And I know my recycles are picked up around 2 o'clock. That's really good. I know that the time I come home, everything's done. So that's the service I am very accustomed to, whether it's raining, snowing, or whatever the case is. So that's all I have to say.
All right. John, anything?
Yeah, well, I just want to add, I did receive a couple phone calls from residents who were concerned about disruption in service, what kind of service to be provided, and I just want to assure residents, Judy and Jesse and Mr. Shaw really developed an airtight RFP, I think, to guarantee that all the services that residents are currently being provided with are going to be maintained regardless of the hauler we select. So I'd like to let folks know that, and commend our team. We're developing a request for proposals and a contract that I think is really going to maintain the level of service we have in Millcreek. I also want to state that the concerns the board had about a new hauler, I can tell you there was no one more concerned than our team here with Judy and Jesse. Last week, they brought the new guys in, and geez, it was an hour and a half vetting process. Really put them through the ringer, and I really want to just thank our dedicated team here that they're going to ensure that service is not going to be disrupted, and is really going to hold any hauler we have to task. We've got some folks here who really care about the township and care about the services we provide, and I have the utmost confidence that our team here in the building is going to make sure that this contract is enforced on our end, and to make sure that services to our residents will be maintained at the current level they enjoy.
And just one more thing, the bid price per bag, what do we have, like 600 or 700 folks that use that service right now, and it's is it $5 a bag? And Advanced bid $4.50, and Waste Management kept the price the same at $5. So there's actually a little bit of a savings for the per bag service also.
And I would add, Mr. Chairman, that pretty much across the board, all of the advanced prices were less than the bid prices provided by Waste Management for all the various kind of subcategories or specialty categories.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion, but the discussion, then we still have to decide two things. Number one, the term of the contract, whether it be 3 or 5 years, and also whether or not the township would like to utilize the option that was presented by Advanced to provide the 95-gallon trash cart and the 65-gallon recycling carts. I'll speak to that briefly. We do get calls, when we get calls, sometimes, and you ladies can relate to this, they are relative to trash blowing around the neighborhood. Windy day, the recycling bin tips over and there's recyclables. A bag tears open or a dog gets into it or whatever, and now there's trash out in the street. The recycling carts, although it would cost the residents a little bit more money, still less than what they're paying now, the carts would make that issue, you would hope, pretty much go away. We wouldn't have the trash blowing around the neighborhoods, and it would provide for a larger container for recyclables, which, again, in theory at least, should encourage additional recycling by the residents. If you have more room to put to recyclables, maybe you're now recycling that corrugated cardboard that you weren't before, or you're throwing your magazines in there that maybe you weren't before. So it encourages additional recycling, which helps everybody, and I think helps our residents also. So there is an additional cost. It's about $4.50 more for a 3-year term, and about $4.71 more for a 5-year term if you want to go with the carts. I would urge the board to consider the carts and also the additional 2 years on the term. The 5-year term, I think, for the additional, I think, what we figure, less than 2%? Less than 2% between a 3-year and a 5-year. I think that guarantees the residents a very competitive price for a 5-year term as opposed to going through this process again in 3 years. So that's my 2 cents. Any comments from the board on that one? Or opinions? If not, I'll make a motion then. I'll make the motion to award the contract to Advanced Disposal for a 5-year term, including the trash and recycling carts for, Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was $59.76 a quarter, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I meant to ask one more question before you made the motion.
Yep.
I wanted to ask the Public Services and Recycling staff what their recommendation would be as far as the bins and length of service.
Come on up. We're asking your opinion. Somebody can, this is your department. You're going to have to field the calls. Well, we're putting the pressure on you. If you have concerns, let's hear it. We don't mean to put you on the spot here, well, we are.
You are. First off, I would recommend in both of the bids, either of them, I would go with a 5-year. Anytime you can lock in a lower price for a longer length of time, it just makes good business sense.
Right now, Judy, what are the residents paying, $60?
$60.54 a quarter.
So even with the bins, you're still less expensive than what they're paying right now? Okay.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the bins? I mean, you ladies field all the calls regarding trash being blown around. Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think the residents would appreciate that?
I think so. I think bins would eliminate the problems that Brian mentioned of the bags getting torn open, crows getting into it, dogs getting into it, windy days. blowing into a neighbor's yard. So larger bins with lids are going to help alleviate those problems.
It does create a look of uniformity, which I know we like in Millcreek, and if people don't want to use the bins, they're not forced to do so.
I would
So
ask,
you have your
right, I would ask that it would be mandatory, that we do, or not mandatory, that if someone doesn't want to use the larger bins and they have their own bins, that it's not mandatory that they have to take the bins. If they decide down the road they would
Well,
want.
if they feel they don't have room for 2 bins or whatever.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
They're large and cumbersome, so if an elderly resident can't get it to the curbside, we don't want to force them upon.
Right, so
Okay.
it would be an option to all residents. I would have to say the majority of them would probably take advantage of it.
The good thing, I guess, in my case, there's just 2 of us, and I only put the recycling bin out maybe every other week, so maybe it's every 3 or 4 weeks now with the larger one.
That's true.
Okay. But you do recommend the 5-year versus the 3-year?
I would definitely, yes, from a business sense.
And just to clarify, because I know I did read the bid, it's a 95-gallon trash toter and a 64-65-gallon recycle toter.
Okay.
Just so our residents know.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. McGrath, I appreciate the comments. I'll second your motion.
And that was for a 5-year with the carts?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Ms. Grow?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Judy and Jessica. And we have folks from Waste Management here, I believe, don't we? Thank you for your service. We appreciate it over the years. I know that this was a tough one for Judy and Jessica because they appreciate your help also.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have trucking and hauling. We did announce the bids that we received for the materials a couple of weeks ago. We recently, on March 9th, opened the bids for the hauling. What we do is combine the 2 totals for the trucking and for the materials to come up with the lowest combined cost. For 6,000 tons of Type A crushed aggregate, this is for 1B limestone, we received a bid from Erie Sand and Gravel for the materials of $22.24. Allegheny Mineral was $16. When we opened the bids for trucking, we received only 1 bid, again from Allegheny Mineral, for the hauling of that material of $13.50, which gave us a total of $29.50 for hauling of 6,000 tons of 1B. We received 4 bids for hauling from the docks at Erie Sand and Gravel. Cindy Glover Trucking was $2.65, Carmuse was $2.85, Tim's Maintenance was $2.50 per ton, and Russell Standard was $4.26. When you combine Tim's Maintenance of $2.50 per ton for hauling with the $22.24 per ton for the materials from Erie Sand and Gravel, the total is $24.74 per ton versus the $29.50 with the material coming from Allegheny Mineral. So I would move that the contract for the 1B limestone be awarded to Erie Sand and Gravel and Tim's Maintenance for the hauling of that material at a combined total of $22.24. That's a motion.
Okay.
Does everybody understand that?
I just want a clarification.
Okay.
Your total combination for the material and the hauling?
I'm sorry, $25.
24?
Boy, now you got me screwed up. Okay, $22.24 for the materials.
Right?
$2.50 per ton for the hauling, for a
okay.
total of $24.74.
Okay, I
Yes.
just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
Now we are.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Similar situation with 2,000 tons of 2B limestone.
Yeah, that's right.
Erie Sand and Gravel bid $22.24 per ton. Allegheny Mineral bid $14 per ton. Allegheny Mineral hauling costs were $13.50 for a combined total of $27.50. We received, again, 4 bids for the hauling of the 2B limestone from Erie Sand and Gravel, Cindy Glover Trucking, $265, Carmuse, $285, Tim's Maintenance, $250, and Russell Standard, $4.26. The lowest combined total of the materials and the hauling would be from Erie Sand and Gravel for the stone and Tim's Maintenance for the hauling at a combined total of $24.74. And I'll move that those two suppliers be awarded those contracts.
Second that.
Mr. Grow?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And finally, for number 9 limestone, Erie Sand, 6,000 tons of number 9 limestone, Erie Sand and Gravel, $21.74 for the materials. Allegheny Mineral, $13 per ton. Allegheny Mineral bid $13.50 for the hauling for a combined total of $26.50. Again, Cindy Glover bid $265, Carmuse $285, Tim's Maintenance $250, and Russell Standard $4.26 per ton for the hauling from Erie Sand and Gravel. The lowest combined total is $24.24, with Tim's Maintenance hauling the material for $250 and the material coming from Erie Sand and Gravel for $21.74. And I will move that those two suppliers be awarded those contracts.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And one more.
Sand.
The sand. This is for 14,000 tons of asphalt sand, type B3. Gertz Sand and Gravel bid $4.50 per ton. For hauling of that material, we received only one bid from Tim's Maintenance at $5 per ton for a combined total of $9.50. Troyer Sand and Gravel bid $5.80, but they did not meet the specifications, and they were higher. So the combined, wait a minute. We should have a number here for Gertz.
Gertz was $4 a ton.
Cheryl, you have $4.50 for the material for Gertz, but then down below you have $4. Should that be $4.50? You see where it says low bidder in red down below?
I believe it was supposed to be 4 and 450, 950 total.
That wouldn't add up.
It'd be at $8.50.
The hauling was,
Tim's Maintenance.
up above the hauling was $5, and it was 450, it was 950 total. The type, there was a typo at the bottom.
Okay, so it's $4.50. The number at the top is correct for the materials, $4.50, and $5.
I apologize.
Okay, and $5 for a total of $9.50. $9.50 is the correct total.
Okay.
Okay, so I would move then that the materials come from Gertz Sand and Gravel for $4.50 per ton, and Tim's Maintenance doing the hauling at $5 per ton for a total of $9.50.
Okay,
my motion.
with those corrections stipulated, I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have a couple of tree removal. This is from the Streets Department. The first is for a tree at 4715 Roslindale. We received 3 quotes: Dibble Tree Service $600, Jefferson $345, and Jake's Tree Service at $395. It's a recommendation of Sean Kern of the Streets Department that Jefferson be awarded that contract, and I'll move approval of that. That includes stump removal.
Stump removal too, yeah, I'll second that one.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And another one at 2748 West 25th Street. Dills Tree Service $675, Thomas Tree Service $475, and Jefferson $300. It's a recommendation of the Streets Department that Jefferson do that work, and I move approval of that.
Okay, and I'll second that one too.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a sidewalk project. This is at Argyle Avenue. Mr. Morris?
We accepted quotes on March 9th and received 3. We asked for 4. Babel Concrete, $9,822. Amendola Development, $10,842. Daly's Concrete Services, $11,500. And we received no quote from Allied Land Services. This work involves the northwest corner of Zephyr and Argyle, where we look to install approximately 175 lineal feet of concrete sidewalk and a ramp. It sounds easy, but it isn't, because there's drainage work and a lot of elevation work. We need to raise the elevation of the sidewalk so the ramp can be ADA compliant. So it's our recommendation that we award the contract to Vavala Concrete, the low bidder, at $9,822.00.
And this was a budgeted item, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Morris, I want to clarify that this sidewalk project is actually tied to CDBG curb ramp projects, is it not?
Well,
I mean, it's part of
it's
our
all
ADA.
the ADA work,
Right,
yes.
that's what I mean, it's part of our
But
ADA
this
consent
money
decree.
was in our budget, okay? I don't believe this is CDBG funds.
Well, what I'm getting at is we're not just building sidewalks. This is tied to an ADA compliance issue related
Yes.
to our consent decree.
That's correct. Yes.
It's because
Correct.
it's some paving work.
I believe it was a ramp that was triggered by paving that we
Yep.
couldn't fix. We couldn't just do the ramp to make it compliant, so they had to go back and
Right.
make some sidewalk repairs.
Okay.
I'll move we approve the bid, or we accept the bid as recommended by Mr. Morris.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have under our new or amended ordinances category, this is a public hearing on the proposed ordinance 2017-5, medical marijuana ordinance. This was discussed previously, and this is the ordinance that would cover the zoning changes necessary to permit both the growing and distribution of medical marijuana in the township. Mr. Shaw?
Sure. We had a special meeting, can't recall the date, it was several weeks ago, with respect to the impact that the Medical Marijuana Act would have on the zoning ordinance, and the fact that our current zoning ordinance did not really have a location identified that the facilities being created and defined by the Medical Marijuana Act, there'd be really no location within our zoning ordinance that you could say, here's where they belong. The Act created a number of new types of facilities, and in particular, and pertinent to this ordinance, is the medical marijuana dispensary, as well as the medical marijuana grower and processor facility. These are facilities that are subject to heavy and exclusive state regulation. Essentially, from the township's perspective, the most the township can do is to identify the zoning districts in which these facilities can be located. We looked at a variety of issues, whether there are any current uses that would be compatible with the addition of these marijuana facilities. We looked at public transit routes, locations along main or high-order roadways, and various issues like that in order to evaluate where these would be best located. The recommendation is that, as indicated under the draft ordinance, that various additions from the Medical Marijuana Act be included within our zoning ordinance, as well as amendments to the zoning districts. One would be the allowing medical marijuana use in C3 Highway Commercial District for a medical marijuana dispensary, the Light Industrial District, I-1 for medical marijuana grower and processor, I-2 for medical marijuana grower and processor, and I-3 for the medical marijuana grower processor or medical marijuana dispensary. And then in addition, adding parking requirements that would be consistent with other types of parking requirements we have for similar type facilities. In addition, if I could add, during the various meetings we've had regarding this, there was a comment at one time regarding the ability of bus service at the Wager Road location, where I think it's an I-3 district. We did locate that EMTA Route 23, the Bell Valley route, does have a stop at that location, and I would submit that as part of the documentation for the hearing. We also reviewed a memorandum from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission that was very helpful and useful in helping our evaluation. And then we also looked at one of the things that the Act requires is buffer zones of 1,000 feet around schools and daycares, and we tried to identify where we believe the schools and daycares were in the township, and came up with a map that kind of showed those buffer areas to ensure that we weren't, de facto limiting use to locations that in fact can't be used. So there are locations within what we've drafted as a zoning ordinance in which these facilities could be located and are not within those 1,000 feet buffers.
Okay, so you mentioned the growing processor would be, the zoning districts would be I-1, I-2, or I-3, correct?
Correct.
Whereas the dispensary would be C3 and I3 as proposed.
Correct.
Okay, and as an example, I guess you mentioned Bundy Park, that I believe is I3.
That's correct.
So either of the two facilities could be located there.
Correct.
We have several other, Julie can probably address this. We have quite a bit of I-1 and I-2 throughout the township where the growing facility would be permitted.
Correct.
C3, you're going to be more limited as far as locations, primarily on state highways,
Yes.
larger commercial districts.
Yes.
Give us an example.
There's a few along Peach Street, 26th Street, 12th Street. They're scattered throughout the township along those main roads, mostly state roads.
Okay.
Mr. Griff, I would also add that C3 uses are also permitted in our C4 uses as well. Correct, Julie?
C4 does permit uses in C1, 2, and 3, yes, correct.
So that'd be like near the mall, C4?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right, now, at the beginning of the meeting, I did call for public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications, but by the same token, our number 10 on our agenda does call for this to be a public hearing. So if there are, it'd be tough to have a public hearing without hearing from the public. So I would entertain any comments or questions from the public in regard to the ordinance being discussed, 2017-5, regarding the medical marijuana. Anyone? Anyone from the board? Any comments?
Yeah, I've got some comments about it. I will be brutally honest about the state. They've really complicated something that is really a pharmaceutical. That's what this is, folks. It is not your garden variety, a $10 bag of leafy marijuana that you can go home and smoke. It is something that is made specifically for medicinal purposes. It's available in a pill form, in an ointment, lotion. It's anything but the leafy form that you come to know it as. Of course, there's a manufacturing process where it's grown inside of a building for obvious reasons. Then it's broke down from there and converted to whatever it needs to be. So it's a manufacturing. It would be same thing if Eli Lilly came here to make heart medication. Okay, I look at it the same way. It's a pharmaceutical. The state has treated it a little differently. They're giving it all this magic power, and let's treat it differently than we would any other pharmaceutical company. They've dabbled in zoning here so far that we couldn't even mess it up as bad as they have done it with their separations and so on. The question is always begged, how complicated can you make it? Well, obviously, they've made it complicated enough. Then they throw it back to us to find zoning districts for it. I've mentioned this before in conversation with my colleagues. I would like to see C2 included in this, because I will tell you this, I think that the state is going to probably exclude many of them already, but at least offer them out there for C2 for a dispensary. And in my quest for trying to find out just how we play word games, I looked up on the internet, of course, and this is the Merriam-Webster dictionary, not the Wiki dictionary. A definition of a pharmacy is a place where the art, practice, or profession of preparing, preserving, compounding, and dispensing medical drugs. Definition of apothecary: one who prepares and sells drugs for compounds for medicinal purposes. Definition of dispensary: a place where medicine or medical or dental treatment is dispensed. It's just a play on words. I'll stand on what I have said. It's just a pharmacy, folks. I think that because we allow C2 to have pharmacies, I don't see why we couldn't do that. Let the state mess it up from there with their 1,000-foot requirements and everything else. Because I don't think we're going to see a lot of the C2, but I think we should at least allow for an opportunity for C2 zoning districts if they meet all the criteria established by the state, which, in my honest-to-God opinion as a former zoning officer, don't know how we could ever come up with crazy separation distances like that. If the state will allow a permit for something like that, that's great. I just think that as a township, we should be offering that C2 district. I support this thing no matter what. I will tell you that. No matter what, how we have it worded, I will support it. But I would like to see the C2 district included in that. That's what I'm asking for.
John, you make a good point regarding it is a pharmaceutical.
A pharmacy. Yeah.
Yes, it's a pharmacy.
It's a pharmacy.
However, because of the restrictions that the state has put on regarding you need a Sally port and
Right.
being able to pull a vehicle inside, and
Right.
it's going to require a pretty decent-sized facility. And we don't know just how much traffic this facility, the dispensary, is going to generate. It's a huge unknown. We don't know how many there might be in Erie County or in Millcreek. I know that the number of licenses are limited, but we don't know how much traffic is going to be generated. So C2 is permitted in many more districts in Millcreek than C3, obviously. And it could be in more populated areas,
Yeah.
less commercial areas. C2 is for retail, and you could have, I doubt that this would happen, but you could have one on a residential street corner, depending upon how far you are, again, from I believe it's from a school, correct?
Right, yeah. 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet. So my concern would be the unknown. We don't know how much traffic is going to be generated by a dispensary, and if we were to allow it in C2 and it created congestion, I think that could be a problem. On the other hand, if we limit it to C3, and maybe this is way down the road, we don't see that these facilities are generating a terrific amount of traffic. If it's not an issue, then maybe the board at that time takes another look at the zoning and says, well, maybe we should be permitting these in C2.
Yeah.
At this time, though, I'm fearful of that unknown and just how much traffic a facility of this sort is going to generate versus having it on a state highway where it's much less likely to create an issue.
Yeah, I think that this is my own personal opinion in regarding the state, and if it seemed like I'm railing against this, I'm really not. I'm glad that they've allowed medical marijuana. It might have been just easier just to allow it to be sold in a pharmacy. Just treat like every other medication that is out there available. What they've done, I think, is artificially inflated the value of this, and by doing that are also inflating property values for those that are going to be, that can be used for these properties, for a dispensary or growing facilities. That would have been, I think, the easier solution. Just allow it to be sold in Pennsylvania as a prescribed pharmaceutical. Of course, that's already been done. That ship already sailed. The state come up with these laws that really give this some sort of special treatment as compared to other drugs. And, you know, if they're looking at the addictive power of it, I'm not sure it's the same thing that you'd find with OxyContin, which is available, well, probably a mile in 5 different directions here, you know, at your CVS, your Wegmans pharmacies.
With much less security than
With
is
much
gonna be
less
required for.
right. You know,
medical
so,
marijuana.
and you talk about a gateway drug to addiction, you know, OxyContin, you know, look where that takes you. It takes you into heroin and stuff. I'm not saying marijuana is not, but, you know, for the people that need this, you know, there are Millcreek residents that are suffering from pain that maybe marijuana is what they need to help them alleviate that pain. And I do understand that. And if they need it, they should be able to get it. I think Millcreek should be welcoming a facility like that. I'm not saying we're not. Please do not think that. I just think we should offer a more, just another zoning district. Let the state determine from there if it complies with their regulations, which are far more excessive than we could ever even think of. So I think I made my point there. I don't want to sound repetitive, guys, but you understand where I'm at.
You want to make it more accessible.
More accessible, just allow this.
To assure accountability and efficient and effective emergency medical services to the residents, and I think that equally applies here.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick comment here from my perspective, that, of course, as you know, a few months ago, we adopted an ordinance creating a Fire and Emergency Medical Services Commission to help come up with ideas and solutions to tackle the problems that are faced by the fire departments and Millcreek Paramedic Service as far as getting them all on a unified front. You know, and this, sadly, this action by the Westlake Department is counterproductive to that there. Just want to quote something here out of the ordinance itself, the Fire and Emergency Medical Services, Ordinance 2017-3, Section 36-17, purpose of the commission. The purpose of the commission, and I'll just go right down to number 3, promote cooperation and collaboration among the fire departments and the Millcreek Paramedic Service on all levels to accomplish joint operations, joint planning, and joint funding. That's why the township had to get involved, and based on what Mark was talking about there with our ability to have one emergency medical service provider in the township, that's why we're taking this action here. So I think with that said, if there's any other comments, I'll make a motion to approve that resolution if there's other comments. So.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Resolution 2017 R13. A resolution to authorize submission of a grant application to DCED to fund the development of a 5-year financial plan for the township and evaluate and recommend any changes to the township's management organizational structure. I'll refer to Mr. Morgan on this one.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. As the board's aware, and we've been trying to make sure our residents are aware, we've been working on updating Millcreek's municipal comprehensive plan. It's been an effort that has been called Embrace Millcreek by our planning commission. And really what we're discussing today is an element of the comp plan, which would be for us to seek funding from the state to do a 5-year financial plan for the township, and also look at our organizational structure as far as our management structure, not studying the form of government as has been discussed in the past, but looking at our staffing capacity, looking at kind of best management practices for our management team, looking at our operations for best management practices, and the state offers that assistance through a program they call the Early Intervention Program. The goal would be for this effort to be done concurrently with our comprehensive plan, so we have a handle on what kind of finances we have available to implement the plan, and take a recommendation on perhaps how to either restructure our current departments or what positions or what departments we should create to implement the plan. And I can tell you guys, in my experience with planning, 2 of the main reasons why plans sit on shelves is you either create a plan that you don't have the funds to implement, or you create a plan that you don't have the staff to implement. So really this is a proactive approach on our part to make sure that the goals and aspirations, objectives of our plan match up to the actual capacity we have as a township to implement that plan. So I would make a motion that we adopt resolution. Well, I guess we have to take public comment first, but
Oh, this was on the agenda.
so I would make a resolution, a motion that we adopt resolution 2017 R13 to authorize our treasurer to submit the application I will note that the max request, I believe, for the program is $50,000 with a one-to-one match. So we would, part of this resolution is also commit up to $50,000 of local match for the project. From discussions with DCED and our treasurer, it's likely when we go out for competitive bid to bring on a consultant, it'll be less than that, but that would be the maximum the township is willing to commit for this element of the project.
And Mark, we budgeted that amount?
It's part of the Embrace Millcreek.
Part of the Embrace Millcreek, okay. That we did budget, okay. That's a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, yes, thank you.
Just so that folks are well aware, and I think, John, you touched on this recently, this is not to give anyone the thought that Millcreek is in any way suffering financially. We want some help in advance to help us out there, and we want to look to the future for not only our organizational structure but also our finances, so that we don't run into any kind of problems in the future. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next we have from our HR department, this is a memorandum of agreement regarding the donation of vacation and sick days. And who wants to handle that one?
I can handle that one right there. I'll just give a brief synopsis of it. Prior to today, the township had an agreement with the Millcreek Police Association and also the AFSCME workers of Local 3530 in regarding to if there was an employee that was ill to such a degree that it was, a catastrophic illness or an injury or something, where they would be coming back to work but might be off of work for maybe up to a year or something like that, that other employees could donate their vacation times. This policy that hopefully will be enacted today will include sick days too. I was approached by the Millcreek Police Association asking if we could amend the policy of vacation days to include sick days. Due to an officer, I can't get into details, but had a health scare that's going on that he will not be able to work for probably 6 months, maybe a little longer, hopefully not. But anyway, he's a newer officer here and really doesn't have enough sick time to cover him for that time that he will be out of work. So they had asked if we could modify this, and Diane Lyons checked with our solicitor at the time, checked with Rich Perhacs about it, checked with the unions, everybody's in agreement, checked with the board, we're in agreement there. So with all of that said right there, I'm going to ask that we I'll make the motion to approve this resolution here, or this memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to add something to it there, but I do thank you guys for your consideration on this. I think it's vital. So.
Okay, you have a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Next, we have number 15 on the agenda, interchange road agreement. This is for a PennDOT detour. Mr. Morris.
PennDOT detour agreement is for the use of Spires Drive and Marmon Road, while the intersection of Edinburgh Road, Route 99, and Peach Street is reconstructed in conjunction with the Interchange Road project. The work is expected to be done over a 2-week time period in the summer or fall of 2018. PennDOT plans to use Spires and Marmon for the detour of cars and light trucks only. Since Spires and Marmon are Millcreek Township roads and not PennDOT's, they require a detour agreement, and the township will see that PennDOT will improve the roadways with a 2-inch by 2-inch binder overlay, and they'll provide shoulder backup. I recommend approval of the detour agreement.
Okay, any questions regarding the detour or the detour agreement?
I'll just comment, I think it's a good deal for us. My experience with the state is oftentimes they'll put their detours on state roads that aren't very realistic,
Yep.
and folks utilize local roads anyway. So having this agreement with PennDOT to at least ensure the protection of our infrastructure makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, people do, and as we know, and we'll just have to keep on saying it, there's going to be some major construction up in that area, folks. Please pay attention to where they're sending you on the detours. So that'll be coming up this year.
People use it as a shortcut now.
Yeah.
it will, it would definitely be used if we didn't have the agreement, so
Yeah.
we have an agreement and
Please
we'll
be
improve
patient.
the road.
Yeah, please be patient, folks.
Yes. And you said, how long, 2 weeks, Rick?
It's expected to take 2 weeks. They'll provide all the signing, and all the heavy trucks will be routed toward other
Yeah,
state
that's not, the
highways.
detour's not for the heavy trucks.
Right.
Correct, okay. All right, was there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the detour agreement with PennDOT.
Yeah,
Your
and I'll-
second?
And I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a request for sale from the county repository. This is for 4065 West 26th Street. Mark?
Okay, this is lot number 33-055-247.0-009.77. It's Lot 5 trailer. They're asking us to exonerate a total of $249.84 in property taxes going back to 2003. We routinely approve these because the idea is that we'll get it back on the tax rolls and get the trailer, the property, paying taxes once again, which it currently is not.
The property is abandoned, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there a motion regarding the approval of the request for sale from the county?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve that request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a request for financial security reduction. This is for Giant Eagle. Rick?
Yes, it's held by PNC Bank, NA number 181259940-00s-000, and the present amount of financial security is $266,188. Everything appears to be complete. However, because of snow cover and ice, we were unable to check a couple of catch basins and where some shrubs were planted. So we're recommending a reduction, and that reduction would take us to the 10%, which is our maximum reduction. And that would be from the $266,188 that we now are holding to $26,619.
Okay. That's your recommendation?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the reduction.
And I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I want to clarify, as recommended by
As-
Mr. Morris.
Yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, 2017 commission appointments. John, I think we have one that we can
Yes.
fill.
Yes, and for the folks out there that have sent interest to us, either email or letters, we are going through those. We will be in contact with you. I do have one here. I'd like to make a motion to appoint to the Property Maintenance and Fire Code Board of Appeals. Gentleman, his name is Robert Shearer, Millcreek resident here, and he's interested in serving on this commission, and he has quite a vast experience working in construction, it appears, development. He's a McDowell graduate, and he's got a contractor license too, so I think he knows the building industry quite well, and he has some good references here too. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Robert Shearer. I think, is that for a 3-year term? Cheryl, did we know? Cheryl? We do not know, okay, but we can get that clarified, but I think it's a 3-year term for that, so,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a motion?
That's a motion to appoint,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Groh, I apologize. I'm looking at Mr. Shear's resume here.
You have it there?
Yeah, I guess we assumed he was a Millcreek resident. I'm looking at his resume. He mentions Northwest Harbor Creek, PA.
Okay, I just did not see that there.
So I guess I'm not sure what the requirements are off the top of my head for the Property Maintenance and
Okay.
Fire Code Appeals Board.
Yeah.
They need to be a Millcreek
Bring
resident.
up a good point
You may
there.
want to double check with Mr. Shear.
Yes,
Have an address anywhere else on the resume?
yeah,
No.
okay.
Apologize for not.
No, I'm glad you
getting
caught
this
that,
in.
because that would have been, yeah,
Yeah, he went to McDowell, but it does say Northwest Harbor Creek.
yeah. I wonder if you-
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's hold off on, I want to hold off on that
Next
there.
meeting?
Thank you for bringing it up, John.
Yeah, I'll move to
Yeah,
to
let's,
table the appointment then.
Right, let's table that there. Thank you.
Sorry for.
Thanks for catching it, yeah,
We will do that at our next meeting.
at our next meeting, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
February building construction report.
Okay, slow month.
Yeah.
We had a total of 2.061, $2
2 million?
$2 million of construction value. Zoning permit fees were $4,850. Let's see here. We had a couple retail store remodels, one new bank, or an addition onto a bank or something, office building. For that total of 5 permits issued.
The big one was the Voices for Independence remodeling.
Right, yes, that was the big one.
1.6 million.
Yes, they're putting
Okay.
1.5 million, something like
And
that.
that's available in both the zoning engineering offices and administrative offices, if anyone would like to take a
And
look.
online too, later this week, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Communications. Mark?
I have nothing further.
John?
Okay, I've got a few of them here. This one comes from Police Chief Scott Height. He's requesting the following permission to grant Patrolman Chris Gotham and Detective Brian Henderson to attend 2017 Police Tactical Officers Association Conference in Pittsburgh, March 28th and March 30th. Both officers are member of the SWAT team. Currently, there is no overtime required for this request. The total costs associated with the training are as follows. Registration, $370. Hotel, $327. Meals are $300 estimate. Fuel and tolls is $30 for a total of $1,027. And I believe that was included in the budget for training officers. So
Okay.
I'd like to have that.
A motion?
That's a motion. I've got several of them here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's on the agenda. Okay. Mr. Grove?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and then permission to send Lieutenants Scott Subulak and Don Kaczynski to attend a seminar on use of force and deadly force, search of motor vehicles and homes. Training will be April 13th at Mercyhurst University Northeast Campus. Currently, there's no overtime projected on this, and travel will be by department vehicle. Registration costs are $90 per officer.
Why don't you go ahead and finish those, John? We'll do
Okay,
those as a group
okay,
then.
we'll do them all. And then
Yeah,
next
'cause
is
they're very
permission.
similar.
Permission is for Cheryl Comstock and Leslie Mitchell, Lieutenant Leslie Mitchell, to attend the Pennsylvania Mandated Terminal Agency Coordinator Training, or TAC training. The nearest training is in Monroeville on April the 27th. They would be traveling by department vehicle. The total cost for the travel are estimated at $50 gas and tolls, and an estimated approximately 1 to 2 hours each for overtime due to union contracts. The next one is the purchase and installation of 3 battery backup systems from Mobilecom for the police department radio system at a cost of $6,687.30. Mobilecom determined that a portion of the problems the department recently experienced with the communications was due to one of the receiver sites was due to power failure. And he does have a copy of the estimate included on that. So I'd like to have all of those approved here today in the form of a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and I got another one here. This regards the Erie County Association of Township Officials, the annual Firemen's Conference Dinner. And it's going to be held, let's see here, on March the 28th, 2017. And I'd like to give permission to send the fire chiefs from the 5 fire departments, the director of MPS, and Matt Exley and Caleb Dixon from our fire codes department. Cost is $30 a person. Of course, this is made out to the ECATO. It's made through ECATO, which we are members of. So we won't be able to attend it. Normally we do.
We have a night meeting?
But that's a night meeting that night there. So,
Okay.
so 30 times 9.
All right. If they all attend.
If they all attend.
Okay.
Okay, I put
That's
that in
a
the form of a
motion?
motion, yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
That'll be 8, right?
8, okay, I'm sorry.
There's five chiefs, MPS, and Caleb and...
Yeah. 6 and 2, yeah, you're right, I'm
And
sorry.
actually, I think that, not to be a nitpicker, but I think that Lake Shore
Lake
is
Shore
sent,
is-
is
oh,
sent
that's
by
right,
Fairview.
by Fairview, yeah,
So it would be
Fairview.
7, I think.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'd make a...
Okay.
Did you make the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
And, I would second the board approve 7 reservations.
Okay.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and just quickly, just a little quick comment. People have noticed that of course, the Giant Eagle closed over in the Kmart Plaza, 26th and Peninsula Drive. The Get-Go also closed, sadly. I had been working with the folks from Get-Go, trying to get that to stay open until they could find someone to take over the place. Obviously, they just went ahead and did it anyway. I'm not trying to complain about it, but we now have another abandoned gas station at Millcreek, which is something I really don't too crazy about. So just wanted to let us know we're going to try to work with them to get somebody back in that place as soon as possible. abandoned gas stations are not good for us. So, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Attached to the police request in the back paper, 2 requests for fire police.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank you for noting that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we can take the one. The other one we'll have to hold off a little bit for. The one here for the Parkinson's 5K race, I'm sorry, this is a request for utilization of fire police. This comes through the police department. And these are the volunteer fire police that work on this. It's set for April the 1st, which is a Saturday, 8:30 in the morning, starting at 11:30. And it's to control traffic during a 5K race. The race route will be marked out. And this is through Chief down there, Scott Kelso of the Fire Police Department at Westlake. So I make that in the form of a motion to approve that.
Okay, and you want to hold off on the
Oh,
second
no, hold
one?
off on the other one for now. The
Okay.
crop walk, that's in the fall. We'll
All
take
right.
care of that later.
All right, so that's a motion.
That's a motion.
Second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Thank you.
And I vote yes. Okay, is that it, John?
That's all I got there. I'm done.
All right, I'll do these two things at once. It's 2 requests for training. The first comes from our sign department. They would like to send 2 individuals, I'm sorry, all 3 individuals, Dick Whitbread, Jeff Tenney, and Joe Bizzaro, to traffic signs basics. This is at the Green Township Municipal Building on Tate Road, and this would be held, actually, I'm sorry, this is retroactive, because this was just brought to our attention recently. They attended the class on March 9th from 8 a.m. till noon, and I'll move, there was no cost involved, I'll move approval of them attending that meeting retroactively.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Grove?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. So the other one is in anticipation of 3 people from the garage. This comes from Joe Yatzer, our bureau chief in the garage. He would like to send 3 individuals to foundation brake inspection and maintenance and class on air brake or air disc brakes. This is being offered March 14th, and this will be at the Erie location, 912 West 12th Street. So I'll move approval of that request.
Okay, I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Boy, excuse me. You want to handle that while I'm choking over here? Okay. Excuse me. This is just a notification provided by the state. This is in regard to flooding. And there's a class being offered. This is an afternoon workshop that's going to be offered for community officials from 1 to 4:30 p.m. This is at the Tom Ridge Environmental Center. And there's also a general public invited to attend that from 7 to 9, also at Trek. And let me find the date there.
April 6th.
April 6th?
I believe it was.
Oh, on the main, okay. Yes, again, April 6th at the Tom Ridge Environmental Center. And registration is provided in flyers, and we have those available. This is to disseminate widely, we are looked to disseminate this to the public, and this is for, particularly for certified floodplain managers, and they will be receiving credit for attending this seminar. And again, it's at the Tom Ridge Center regarding flooding on April 6th from 7 to 9 p.m. for the general public and from 1 to 4:30 p.m. For public officials. That's all I have. Mark, or John? Anything?
For me.
Okay. Sydney, a report?
Yes. All right, so the McDowell Marching Band is going to be representing Northwest Pennsylvania in Washington, D.C. this summer. They'll be marching on the 4th of July parade there. And then we also have multiple sports teams that have been going to states lately. So we just had wrestlers come back from states, and there was a few of them that placed well. Our swimmers are being sent to states this weekend, and I know our robotics team just finished very high at a competition, and they're looking forward to their big competition that is in Nashville coming up.
Great. So we won't have McDowell at the parade this year for the July 4th?
No, I
They're
guess
gonna,
not.
well, that's good that they're in DC. I mean,
Yeah, they're busy.
That's great, you know, that, yeah.
They got a better offer.
I can see that.
Thanks.
Go Trojans.
Mark, anything?
I just had one communication we received. The planning department and myself have been in communication with counsel for PNC regarding a property over which they're foreclosing. There's an issue with respect to an adjacent parcel that had been added into the property on which they had a mortgage, and we're, you know, they've asked us for assistance in clarifying the position of either parceling that off or giving them an affidavit indicating that we would not do that. The parcel that was added in would only have 40 feet of frontage if we proceed. Just kind of letting you know that we've just received communication from them regarding that, and probably at the next meeting we'll need to take action.
Okay. Anything else? Is that it?
That's all.
Cheryl?
I have the right to know report from February. We received 6 requests, and 2 were granted. We had a partial denial on one of them. 1 was denied, and then 2 very, very large requests are pending. We asked for 30-day extensions on those. So those will be fulfilled on March 24th.
Okay.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I
Julian,
think you
yes.
needed to mention executive sessions.
Oh, yes, I did have that. Thank you, Mark. We did have executive sessions on March 1st from noon until about 2, on March 9th and 10th from 1:30 until about 3 o'clock to discuss various legal matters. Julie, anything else? Rick, anything else? Citizens to be heard? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 11:17.
So moved.
We're adjourned.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.